say gym. That's called Amazon.
But you have some redneck that'll go out and shoot them and steal the package.
Wait, I mean, what's the government space though? Like, do you have to have like?
Hold on, let's start. Let's go ahead and start, and then we can talk about it.
Yeah.
What episode are we on? 14, 15?
I think it's 15.
All right, Froning and Friends, episode 15.
It can be whatever we want it to be.
Yeah. We don't even have friends again. We don't have friends again, so it's just us. Sorry, again.
No, but what I was saying is I want my own drone.
You want your own drone? Like driving drone? Like one that you can...
No, just one I can fly around.
Okay.
Like, you just out the garage. I can take
But
something.
is that an airspace issue or no?
I don't care about that.
Well,
I'm not American.
that kind of...
I'm just kidding.
That kind of reminds me of...
I don't know what the rules are.
I'm sure there's some type of like... I mean, there are rules because you see these people... I mean, we have a drone. And we try to fly it to my dad's every time. This stupid thing won't make it there. There's like these huge power lines, and I don't know if it like some type of magnetic interference or something with the power. Like
really?
they're like the giant power lines, not just like you know.
And it won't work.
I don't know. We've gotten it close, haven't we? We got it within a couple 100 meters, probably. We could see Dad's, but it wouldn't fly over the.
Right.
So I mean,
I think there are rules. Though.
Yeah,
I mean, I've heard of
there's got to be rules because people are like,
because
people are like crashing them into.
Yeah.
I think there was one that hit a plane, right? A drone?
That's be
I think
really
somebody
high drone. There's got to be like around airports and stuff.
That one night that I left my backpack up at the barn, I just wanted to fly my drone up, pick it up real quick, and get it back because there was a couple things I needed in my backpack.
So would you rather have a drone, or this is my idea because I'm in the dang car so much, a car where you're standing up? Could you imagine going down the road and you're just standing?
No.
Yeah, like a stand-up car.
You know how weird that would look? Have you ever seen Zootopia?
Yes.
Yeah, you've seen Zootopia.
No.
I love Zootopia.
You know the giraffe car? Like, think about that. That's what your car would look like. It just doesn't work.
I don't want
No,
that.
but you don't think that's comfortable? Think about how often you're sore. Like today, we can't even move. I mean, now I have to sit in a car.
Sit down.
I do too.
I don't
No
mind
way.
sitting down.
Like my butt, like you're like this, and then you're like this. Like I can't imagine how odd I look in a car. I would rather just be standing up.
You are pretty odd.
In each one of our cars, I have like that right space where you feel perfect. You know, like, and it's different in each car. For me, like where I know I kind of fit right there. Okay, that's my spot. Now I'm ready to go. Let's drive for 8 hours.
Let's go. 8 hours. That's a different
my
story.
limit.
Yeah.
No,
that's your limit.
Yep, 8 hours. I'm good to go.
Mine's 6. Like I can drive 6. If it's over 6, I'd rather fly. Unless it's like we're taking a bunch of people, vacation or whatever.
Yeah.
And a bunch of family, and people can't buy plane tickets, so we drive. But
6 hours is your. I don't want to go.
Because I mean, by the time you drive to Nashville, you're there an hour early. You're 2 hours in plus the flight, so it's kind of like 6 hours. Is that there's no you're not really gaining much time, and you're losing a little bit of like freedom because you can't drive. You have to rent a car or whatever. So
my first month here, I was flying every week to be here the amount of days and flying back on the weekend.
Seriously?
Yeah,
I didn't know this.
Yeah, back.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
I mean, I didn't even hadn't even
15?
communicated with
back
anybody.
In 15? Yeah.
Yeah, just showed up and just walked in. Anyway, so I had to drive back, and I was so sore. I mean, I already told people I couldn't sleep the first month, but this is different. I'd never told anyone this. I was so sore that I couldn't drive because my hamstrings and my glutes were aching so bad. I had a lacrosse ball in the car, and I would have to sit on it in different spots because literally it would ache so bad I'd have to pull over. Like, that's how bad it hurt to drive back.
Wow.
That's the first month of training with Rich.
I don't believe it.
I did. That's real life.
I actually believe it.
Yeah. Oh, it hurts. Maybe I was just a sissy.
What's the longest you've gone without driving a car? Like, since you've got your license, what's the longest you've been, like, where you just didn't get in a car?
This last week, I didn't get in a car at all. That's what's kind of nice about being in the Bahamas. We were at Albany, and it's all golf carts, so you just drive golf carts around.
Oh, that's
pretty awesome. So, yeah, the whole week.
You mean driving yourself?
Like, literally driving the car, steering it. I've done a month.
A month?
I've done a whole month. When I was gone to Africa, did a whole month, and coming back and getting in the truck was amazing.
Strange.
That was like to be in control of moving yourself somewhere was amazing when you hadn't done that for a month. But I know people that live in cities that don't drive cars at all.
I was going to say I studied abroad in Australia and Fiji for 4 months.
That doesn't count. You didn't study abroad in Fiji or Australia.
We were doing like reef checks and stuff. I can tell you about
reef checks.
the Aboriginal culture in Australia if you
were
care
surfing
to know.
And snorkeling.
Yes.
I had to bite fish heads
Listen.
off.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's what
Live
some
off
people
coconuts.
call eating sushi.
Yeah, right. Had to
was
bite fish
educational.
heads off. No, you got served sushi.
Right.
That's not true.
Studied
While we were
abroad. I thought you were-
yesterday, she said
come
that
on,
we were
this is-
talking about the bike ride that we did, that charity ride, and she's like, "This is the
No!
steepest hill I've ever seen." She goes, "And I've seen the Swiss Alps." And I was just like, "Yeah." When me and my family were vacationing in the Swiss
To be
Alps.
fair, come on.
Hashtag.
This is
You know what my
I've seen
family
it.
vacations as a kid were? We went
Yeah.
to Michigan to visit family,
Yeah.
or we went to NASCAR races. That was my family
We-
vacations. We didn't go to the Swiss Alps.
We went on one vacation in my entire life. We went from Nebraska to Kansas City to Worlds of Fun.
Come, you guys. Let's be honest here, though. Like, for real,
the Swiss
Dre. This you need to hear this too, because you're a cameraman. So, Planet Earth on the Discovery Channel is rad.
I've
And
never
there
actually
is-
seen
So
any
then
of
you
them.
can't even say that. You could know everything about the Swiss Alps if you watched that. Like
Yeah,
the hunt.
but you have been to the Swiss Alps, and you said it snobby, as in
I did not.
when I saw the
Really?
Swiss
Did I
Alps,
roll
and
my
I've
eyes?
seen the Swiss Alps.
not. I'm not snobby. I would not say it like that. You think I
No,
said
you're
that?
not snobby, but
Oh,
maybe
okay.
a little pretentious, maybe?
Are you serious?
Woo! Pretentious. I like it.
No,
Great.
I wouldn't even say that's a good word
I'm
for you.
moving
But
on.
it just when you said studied abroad and then you threw in Fiji and Australia, that just really threw me. I thought you were going to come up with like studied abroad.
So
like
you want to talk about like clarity and chaos, like how that pertains? You know what the precursor to that was?
what?
I ripped both my hamstrings off my pelvis running in college, and I was so lost. I was like, I gotta go somewhere. So I got another teammate of mine who was hurt. I was like, where do you want to go? And she's like, there's a study abroad here. Let's go. And we packed our bags. That's why I did that. It was really from like,
Sure.
you guys are such turds.
I believe
Okay,
you. I
so
believe you.
And you still have to have money to do that.
How do you
And
know?
your parents paid for it, didn't
How
they?
do you know I wasn't
Your parents
fundraising
paid-
on the side of the
No
road?
way.
How do you know I didn't do a lot of car washes?
Oh, here we go. Did you do a car wash? Your parents paid for every dime of it, didn't they?
I don't know.
I don't know. Yes, she does. That's a lie right there. Everything else is good right up till then.
You know what? Can I,
I don't
teach you
know.
guys something that I thought of you guys today? And this is going to be a booyah moment for you guys.
Booyah.
So,
I can't believe I even just said that. Booyah.
do you want to repeat it, Rich? Go ahead.
No,
You
absolutely
can say
not.
It. You want to say it?
Nah, I'm
it's,
good.
It's booyah.
Nah, I'm good.
Booyah.
Nah.
Just go ahead. Go ahead with your.
So, you can call me a hippie all you want. So, I was listening to this Minutes on Mastery today. So, I didn't even hear the whole thing yet. So, I'm going to butcher it, but I'm going to give you like the baseline of the 3 minutes. So, this doctor is talking about the biggest thing he's seeing on these like major teams is their hold on, I gotta look up the word.
Teams? What
Their,
kind of, like, sports teams?
Professional sports teams. So
Okay.
their testosterone is lower because it's been binding to coagulin. Binding coagulin binds up testosterone.
Okay.
So that means you have less free-flowing testosterone, which would affect your performance. Yes, you know where this is found.
Right.
Every single member of this team had elevated binding, whatever. It comes, and they figured it out. They asked them, they wrote down everything they were eating and using, and it was because of their face wash, their shampoo, and their body wash had so much. You know how you see
Aluminum?
things now that say paraben and phthalamin, I think it's parabens and phenolates.
Okay.
So when you see like all the like on chick stuff, you see a lot of stuff that says like paraben free. So all the stuff you're putting on your skin is binding to your testosterone and taking away free flowing testosterone. So you can call me hippie all you want, but if you're not using the natural stuff, you can go bind up all your testosterone and inhibit your own performance.
Wow.
So there,
I don't
you
want
better
to
go
inhibit
shopping.
my performance.
I feel like that. What study was this?
It's not it's a guy. His name is Chris Tall.
I feel like
Krista.
if you're on a sports team, there's a lot of alpha males. Therefore, your testosterone would be higher, right? Because
I would
you're
think so.
Yeah, but
constantly
because
competing.
of their environmental factors that you have control of, that you tease me about, you could have more testosterone. I don't know how long it takes to get off because your guys is probably all bound up.
What did
but
she just say?
I don't know. She's talking about what's bound up in my life, and I'm not comfortable with that.
I think that's what
I hope
phrasing.
that's not what she said.
I think that's what she
Oh,
said.
stop. Okay, whatever. Anyway, I'm
So
trying to help you out
I've
here.
actually, now I don't have the stats on this, but I've heard a military guy talking about how they don't want high levels of testosterone in special forces kinds of guys.
Well, because
They just want them
that's
calm
more
and
confrontational,
trained.
right?
just trained, just prepared and trained.
So it's from Chris Talley, who's a nutritional scientist who specializes in the unique requirements of ultra elite specific performance.
Now, what I got from that was a question. Do you use any kind of like
Deodorant? Yeah.
No, I know you use deodorant, but like washing of the face.
No.
You don't wash your face?
I do use
Soap.
Okay, so you use soap.
My wife uses. She tried to get me, like, she sells Rodan and Fields, so she
Right.
tried
So
to get me to
good.
use it.
Right.
I felt like I was burning my face off.
Yeah,
I don't want to do that.
I tried to use that at one point too.
It literally felt like my face was on fire.
because you have to exfoliate your skin to get rid of the dead skin cells to keep it regenerating. They'll stop.
I get like the only thing I use is like some kind of a scrub stuff.
A loofah?
No, not a loofah.
Well, you better make sure it's paraben free.
I'm gonna have to look at it now, but it's like an apricot scrub, and I scrub that on my face
that's
just
nice.
in the shower, and it just kind of cleans it, and you're done.
Apricot or apricot?
Yeah, I don't know how to say that word
I'd
right.
say apricot, but
Apricot,
I think
apricot.
it's
I
tomato,
just, I don't
tomato.
know.
Did you know a
I get
blue
the-
whale tongue weighs more than an elephant? If you watch Planet Earth, you have to watch that Planet Earth. It's a really good one.
Planet Earth.
I've never watched any of the Planet Earths
No.
You're
or
missing out.
any of that stuff.
I watched the Strongman documentary on Netflix yesterday.
Is that good?
That was
I haven't
really
seen
good.
it. Which one was it called?
I think it's called. I'm gonna say Be Strong, but
Be
it was
Strong?
it was about
Born Strong.
Born Strong. There it is.
Darren, thanks.
It was really good. It went through the lives of like 5 of those dudes, and then they were at the Arnold Strongman Classic,
Oh, nice. What? Oh, okay.
and who won, and kind of it was cool.
Yeah,
It was really good.
Watch that.
Can you? Sorry, I know I like shift gears.
No,
always
that's all
so
good.
hard. But I have a couple questions today. But first, I wanted you to talk a little more about your Instagram post the other day about climbing the rope. I really found that inspiring when I read that in the morning.
I just saw that this morning.
It was awesome.
Actually.
I think that's just a really cool thing to share.
Yeah, I
Want me to
literally
pull it
was.
up?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Sorry, you can go into it. I just want to.
I was thinking, just kind of one of the things I've been thinking about in my life is arriving in a conversation with somebody, regardless of what it is, just a general kind of a mindset, wanting to, instead of what's wrong here first, have my first thought be what's right here first.
Do you want to read it so they know?
Stop and check your mindset. As you watched my video, did your thoughts go to being critical, looking for mistakes and flaws, or were your first thoughts positive and uplifting? Be the kind of person or coach who encourages and builds on what's right first before you go to pointing out the areas that need improvement. I finished yesterday's workout with 10 rounds of one-legless rope climb, 5 strict pull-ups on the minute and a half, and that was my last rope climb.
So I was like,
The overarching thought I had was, man, like I get tired of people showing up, and the first thing they're thinking of is what's wrong with you, or what's wrong with this situation.
Or any comments on social media
Right.
are always negative.
Right. Yeah, I kind of went from the big idea of the conversation. I want my first thought to be something positive
instead of always negative.
instead of negative. When I'm sitting down to have a discussion with somebody, what good is going to happen here, not what wrong is going to happen
not
here.
trying to figure out flaws and find flaws in people. You're like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
Guy's climbing a rope. He's getting fit.
Yeah.
Instead of, oh, what's he doing or how's he doing that? And
Somebody that I'm completely different ideology, from. We show up and we look for truth. What can we agree on? What makes sense? Where's the truth in what we're saying, instead of figuring out, being divisive.
Or everybody wants to divide.
That's what I've been kind of just working on in my own life. And so then I was thinking about, putting that video up, and then I was thinking, well, you know what? On social media, people throw something up, and the first thing is they want to be critical, or they want to.
But that's, I think, a part of that is almost like, the habit loop and training your brain, because I would like to think that I'm a positive person. I don't ever look at videos to critique them, but it's crazy because I was reading that, and as I was reading it, I was like, wow, the very first thing I was looking at the video, analyzing the performance. Not that I was trying to look or critique or say anything like that,
Right.
but my mind immediately went to analyze instead of, however, you
Right.
can retrain your thought process. And then that's why I really took a step back, and I was like, wow, that's really powerful.
Right.
Because you need to approach it with, well, what positive things are they, you know what I mean? Instead
Yeah.
of just like,
I know from a coaching perspective, I really worked hard when I was communicating with an athlete to start everything that I was going to do. It wasn't a cheery rah-rah thing, and it wasn't that I couldn't tell somebody the truth. And sometimes coaching someone is difficult and challenging, and it's really in your face. But in general terms, hey man, I love your energy. I love what you're bringing to that. I love how aggressive you are here now. Here are the things we need to work on.
Right.
And I've been around where people have become so coach conscious and so worried about what's going to be said that they can't be free and they can't execute.
Right.
You know,
They're just timid all the time.
Yeah,
Basically, just walking on eggshells.
if you're worried about failure and
Yeah.
all those things, you're never going to be present and successful,
Right.
or as successful as you can be. And I think when talking about helping a friend or coaching someone, you know, showing up with, you know, the positive side of things is a better thing than negative. I had an old coach. I used to hate it when he would say it, but he would say, "You can catch more flies with honey than you can with vinegar." And that was his old line. And, you know,
Yeah.
he had 4 national championship teams.
Jeez.
And here I am all these years later kind of going, God, that what Joe
Makes
said was
sense.
right. You know, that was, so that's really kind of what it was about. And because I'm semi-insecure about my CrossFit journey, I don't feel like I'm great at all that right now. You know,
I
I
think
mean,
everyone's insecure about something within what they're doing.
yeah,
you know?
I mean, I'm literally in the space where I'm working hard to be better every day. When I put that up, I was like, well, holy crap, you know?
That was
Yeah.
great. Did you find some questions for us?
I got a riddle. Somebody put a riddle. What can you put into a barrel that you can see that makes the barrel lighter in weight?
Can you read that again?
What can you put into a barrel that you can see that makes the barrel lighter in weight? I don't know.
That you can see.
Like you could say air, but it
I was going to say air or
But
some
what
sort of
are,
a
like,
I was thinking a
gas.
light
Yeah, I was
bulb
thinking,
until
like,
it said weight, because it
What
would
makes
be
it
light.
lighter?
Hmm.
Yeah, like a,
Into a barrel. I am not.
it would make it lighter.
Are
I don't
toes to bar bad for your lower spine? I mean, if you don't have the range of motion, I guess they could be, but
What about your hip flexor strength? If you if you don't have.
yeah, I mean, it could light up your psoas a little bit, but I've never really had low back problems from
When we
toes to bar.
Toe to
Your multiple
bars.
toes going to one
say
bar
toe to bars.
and not one toe to multiple bars.
which is it?
He tried it. It was actually
Toes to
harder
bar.
than
Toes to
you-
bar.
Toes to bar.
Well,
you,
we
you brought your toe
She
to
does
bars.
toe to bars.
we deadlift the other day,
My back is still
or is it
fried.
It hurt.
deadlifted? No, I'm just kidding.
No.
And then
did
we
some
went to
deadlift
do
yesterday.
toes to bar yesterday,
Toes
and
to
I
bar.
had a hard time.
It was rough.
Is interval training the best way to build stamina? I think there's benefit in that for sure, because you can keep intensity up. If you're just doing long, slow stuff, you're gonna get turn in long and slow
Well, how many times a week would you sprinkle in intensity?
every day.
How can you relate some of these questions back to the open? Because everyone's losing their mind about the open right now.
I mean,
in
how
the
to-
most positive way, but do you have any advice right now for people preparing for the open?
I mean, how do marathon trainers? How do people train for events? They usually break it down into smaller intervals and do a little bit more volume. That's kind of the way we train right now. If you're just doing, you're not going to go out and train for a marathon by running a marathon all the time. So you're going to have to break it up. So that's kind of what we do. The thing is you don't know the movements. We don't know what we're doing. So we just try to do as many different movements as we can and as many different combinations. Most of the time right now with the open stuff, people are doing a lot lighter stuff because in the open, there's probably 1 or 2 workouts with a little bit heavier, but for the most part, they're relatively light and you can move the weight. So and conditioning is a big part of what people should be doing right now.
Is it true that when you're an individual athlete that when you found out the regional workouts, you never actually did them before you did versions, did you say?
I did
What
a bunch
was
of
it?
different versions and broke it down into different movements and stuff like that, but I may have done 1 or 2 of the workouts before, but I never did the full workout. Not like old Drestrom over there
It doesn't.
does
3,000
50
times.
million of them. Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Hey, did you the Men's Health magazine videos, the milk videos have come out now?
Yeah.
How'd you feel about that when you saw them? I watched them yesterday. And I thought they
I
were
haven't
really
watched,
good.
I don't watch them. It kind of weirds me out to
Really?
watch myself on that type of stuff. Yeah, I don't really usually watch it.
You guys can go to YouTube and watch those. They were really good.
Were they?
I was like,
Yeah,
I was really. Have you watched it?
I haven't seen them yet.
Oh, you need to watch those.
I
They were
need
really
to.
good.
I haven't seen them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw the
I get a
one.
little creeped out. I don't
Yeah.
listen to any of these. I don't watch any of the videos.
Right.
Everyone, I'll scan through some stuff,
Right.
if it's a bunch of us or whatever, but not just. It weirds me out. Watching
Watching
myself.
yourself all day long. Yeah, that's kind of creepy if you think about it. So I've been hearing a lot on clarity, and we talk a lot about clarity
On
too.
clarity, yeah.
On clarity.
And
On clarity?
like
On clarity?
discussing the value of clarity in your obviously if you become more clear on your life, things tend to align better. I'm not articulating this well, but you kind of
Right.
see where I'm going.
Yeah.
And I keep hearing people bring up, whatever, quote unquote, successful people bring up the value of clarity in their life. But people can say things over and over. You need clarity. You need clarity. in your mind, what are the important aspects of seeking clarity? What is the process of getting there? We don't have to have an answer. I'm just curious because I keep hearing that word over and over again.
Yeah.
Because if you have clarity, then you can find your purpose, clarity of purpose. Like all of these things are kind of being woven together. It's kind of a heavy question, but
I think that's something you're constantly working to. I mean, I don't think you ever 100% have it figured out personally.
Yeah.
But I feel like, so starting working with Jim, there are things in my mind, like the analogy was like, I feel like I was kind of looking through like blurry windows. Like I knew, what was right or what direction I should be taking, but it was kind of blurred. And then as we started going through things and connecting them to core values, all of a sudden, like I literally one weekend sat back on a Saturday and I was like, holy crud.
Yeah.
That's what that means. That's why I'm thinking this way or feeling this way. And it was like literally like one of those blurry windows got pulled up, and it was connecting that to a core value helped me understand why I was thinking or feeling or doing whatever in that way. So now I'm a little more clear in that regard. So then it's improving my life or performance or whatever in that regard. That's why I'm saying, how can we continue to seek clarity to improve ourselves or our performance?
I think in our game, it's the be versus the do. I think for me, becoming clear was first defining who I be, and taking what my talents are, my values, and my purpose, and kind of having that in language. So writing that into some sort of code or language, so that what I was going to do was connected to what I believed. Mm-hmm. And so I did get to the place in my life where really I always kind of know what I'm supposed to do, but that's always really connected to the clarity of understanding who I am as a person, what my values are, and what I believe, so that I operate from that sense of purpose in my life. There's all kinds of things we can do in life, and some of them are better than others, but for me, it was that idea of, defining myself and having that kind of as the platform to work from first. And many people, I think, when they're searching for clarity, instead of really understanding themselves, understanding who they are and what they believe, they just go searching for the next thing to do all the time. Well, if I try this, maybe it'll work. Well, if I try this, maybe it'll work. If I get coached on this, maybe I can get better at it, instead of starting from, wait a second.
Who am I?
Who am I?
I think.
Actually in the milk commercial, I mean, you articulated that in the very beginning of that, knowing that I need to move, knowing that I'm a competitor, and these other things. You said CrossFit and fitness was an important part of what I do, but I'm also a father, and you started naming all these other things. Right. But that came from the clarity of really kind of understanding who you were first.
I don't think you can move anywhere near clarity if you don't know who you are.
Right.
Because then you're always, like you said, you're always searching for what am I going to do next? Right. What am I going to do instead of who am I? Yeah. You're making those decisions on what you're going to do based on who you are.
I think the game changes when you know who you are. No longer are you just searching for what to do. The game is, oh my gosh, I know what to do. Will I stay true to it?
Right.
Will I live based on what I said I believe? And those are two entirely different games. Yeah. And a lot of people today, you hear it all the time. I feel. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Instead of, I think, therefore I know what to do, and take the feeling part of it, which is necessary. Right. But filter that.
Filter it, yeah.
Yeah. So for me, clarity was, literally, wait a second. I got to start with who the heck am I and what do I believe? And let's figure that out first. Right. And I got to that a whole lot later in life. I got to it a whole lot later than you did.
Yeah.
You got to it a lot sooner than I did. So, yeah.
I got to it a lot sooner than you did, too.
That's not...
She's still working on it. No, I'm just kidding.
He's not done with
it
either.
And she's way older than I am.
Oh, my.
Years.
I'm not... It's whatever.
What are you, 37, 38? What are you?
Whatever. We were going to start a rumor that Jim was 72.
72?
Hey, listen, the other day...
Someone asked how old he was.
The other day, some of the kids in the gym were messing around, and I was setting up a bar. I turn around, and they're like... I hear them whispering, hey, they're not going to see. They're going he's going to take his bar away. You know, and they're trying to walk away with the bar. So I turned around and I was really aggressive just for fun.
Mm-hmm. Well, how old are these kids?
They're I don't know. They're the college kids, you know, a group of college kids that are messing around. They're hauling my bar off. And I honestly, I swore. And like, where are you going? And I'm stone cold killer looking on my face. And they all freaked out. And we're like, and I'm like, I got you.
Gotcha.
But then I told them they could call me Tio.
Tio, uncle?
Yeah, they could
call
me
Uncle in
Uncle.
Spanish.
Uncle Tito?
They're like,
Tito.
Oh, Tio.
Not
Tio.
Tito.
I'm going to start calling you Uncle Tito.
Tito.
I'm sticking with Jim Silver. That's my favorite.
What other kind of questions? Hey, what you just got back from the Bahamas? Talk about that.
No, it was fun. We played golf a little bit. I can't hit a golf
Tell
ball
them
straight.
about the sharks.
Yeah, that's
Tell us the shark story.
Yeah, so my second, there's two things on this planet that I'm afraid of. Being buried alive in a casket.
It has to be in a casket.
Yeah, because I'd die of boredom, I think. Like, seriously, like as a kid, I don't know where it came from, but it terrified me. Still terrifies me. Second thing that I'm afraid of, sharks. There's only two things that I've ever like.
Oh, that's legit, man.
So
that scares me.
Sharks
we went to this place, and it's called Stewart's Cove. And Stewart, he's older gentleman, been diving for years.
Missing a leg?
No, we got all his fingers in his legs, but dude's crazy.
So he's not a pirate.
So we go and we snorkel a little bit, and they're like, all right, we're going to go dive with sharks. Some of the other Reebok athletes did it earlier in the week.
I was like, awesome.
I was like, all right, I got to do this. Like, I'm going to do this. So we get in. There's probably 8 of us in the water, and they drop the bait box down. It's like 30 feet.
So cool.
And so as we're like getting in the water, because they have to drop the bait box, there's just sharks everywhere. Well, as the bait box goes down, they sink down because they're kind of hanging out with the bait box. So we're in the water, and they're like, hang on to the rope, don't make any splashes at the surface, because that's what they're attracted to, because they think you're chumming the water. Well, so we're in the water. There's probably, like I said, 8 of us in the water, and they're probably 30 feet down. So, I mean, you're kind of nervous, but it's not crazy, nothing, whatever. Well, all of a sudden, you start seeing fish heads all around you, and the bait box starts creeping up. All of a sudden, there's sharks everywhere. People start getting out of the water.
Sure.
And so it's just me and Spencer Hendel and his wife, and then one of the other guys that we always go with, his daughter Nicole. And so, I mean, literally, we were looking to the right, and you'd look to the left, and there's a shark just right at eye level, just swimming past you. Probably if I would have reached out, I could have touched it. It was one of the most. It was awesome actually, but it was terrifying.
The picture that you posted on Instagram. I mean,
there's sharks everywhere.
It just
There was
scares me.
probably 15 to 20 sharks, and they were probably anywhere from, I'd say 4 to 8 or 9 feet, maybe some 10
Were they
footers
like
in there.
big sharks?
reef sharks or what
They're
kind
Caribbean reef sharks.
Yeah.
But they still have a lot of teeth. And there was one that they
Shark's
called
a shark.
There's one they called Joker, and so its lip was ripped down.
Oh.
And so it looked like its mouth was open at all times. So you just turn around, and this thing's teeth, and it's the nastiest looking, like terrifying. And so it was
Did you stay in the whole time? You didn't get out?
I stayed in the whole time.
How do they get rid of them? They just leave?
Yeah, we just left.
And you were
You got
snorkeling.
out.
You didn't have scuba
We were
tanks or anything.
snorkeling. Yeah, we were just snorkeling. But you could dive down a little bit, come back up. It was intense.
That's legit.
Yeah, it was intense.
Now that's right on the top of my fear list. I don't know that I
Sharks.
could even do that. I don't.
Yeah, you just have to you're in their environment. So
Yeah.
if they want you gone, they're gonna.
Yeah.
You're gone.
What will
Why
be
do you
will
think
be.
that's so high on people's terror list? Like, do you think it goes back to Jaws,
Jaws
or what?
Yeah,
Yeah.
honestly, I think it's Jaws. You're conditioned as a child that sharks are gonna eat you.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just plenty of things in the world to
but and your parents would be like, "Hey, don't go out that far. Sharks will get you." Of
Yeah.
course, like
Yeah.
it would be in the lake. Sharks in the lake.
It's just the idea of the water. It's
You're in
deep.
there.
It's
You're
cold.
in their
You're
domain.
there. You know.
And on the news, shark
Yeah.
attack
Yeah.
Yeah, when was the last time you saw Shark Attack on the news?
every summer. I mean, I haven't because it's winter right now, but
Didn't that happen in Australia when you were studying abroad?
yeah, I think in Australia is like the most shark attacks, right?
Oh, this is cool. So, oh man. So we went.
This is cool. Okay, go ahead.
Never mind.
No,
I don't want to tell my
Ellie's
story
cool
now.
story. Let's
I
go.
don't want to tell now.
So the other thing is, you were golfing, and I've never ever known you to golf.
Yeah, I don't.
That baseball swing.
A baseball swing. I just swing as hard as I can.
Yeah.
It was kind of like, it was me and Spencer and Austin were all hanging out, and Spencer wanted to go play golf. So, and one of the guys, Chris Ferroyo, who's the head of North America for Reebok, really good friend of ours too. So, he got in with us, and we played best ball. So, I mean,
Right.
it wouldn't take forever, but Yeah.
You looked pretty good in the pictures, though. I mean, it looked like you sort of knew what you were doing. I mean,
I literally just swing as hard as I can. And
with every club?
And it slices. Yeah, pretty much.
Did they pick any of your shots?
I had like 4.
Oh, that's good. Were they drives, middle shots, putts?
They were usually, I had one out of the sand that was, I don't know how it happened. And then I can't remember. I hit a wedge really bad one time, but it stayed really low and it rolled up to the green. So, hey, whatever.
There you go.
So
what, to look good.
What was the summit all about? They just get all the Reebok athletes
Yeah, so we all go down there for 3 days and, we kind of hang out. We'll take some pictures and stuff, get them some content. We have some meetings on, the apparel coming out for the next year and kind of talk about that. And then shoes, same thing. And it's just a good time. Get everybody kind of on the same track right before the games. We just really hang out, and it's a great time. It's the place we go to is beautiful. It's in Albany, Bahama, and it's super exclusive. And so, like we saw when we were down there, Kevin Costner was down there. So, yeah, cool. A couple years ago when we went, Timberlake was down there. Jeter was down there last year. So it's like, but you don't go up and talk to them because it's like it's their, you don't want to be
their alone
people.
time.
So yeah, it was fun. We had a good time.
That's cool. Swim with sharks?
Swim with sharks.
That freaked me out.
I love sharks.
That's cool. You love sharks?
I think they're cool.
Wow.
I don't know.
You've been around that a lot, though.
What?
I mean,
terrifying.
That's awesome. That's
have you ever
cool
seen? I mean, you surf a lot. You've lived in Florida. Have you seen sharks? Like legitimately, like, oh, there's a shark as you're surfing.
Yeah, when she was on the corals in Australia with the pygmies.
Oh yeah.
I love scuba diving. I'm an avid scuba diver, or was before I moved away from the water. So yes, I did that a lot, but not like.
I don't know that I'm ever going to do that. I don't know about that.
I don't know about
that. Chumming on top of, but let's be honest, chumming on top of the water is a lot different than like scuba diving and like seeing a fish down below versus.
And what it also turned out that Erin, Spencer's wife, was like trying to get out of the water and she was using her hands and they're like, no. And then also turns out they don't normally do that with tourists. They don't just chum the water and bring the bait box up. And
they don't
ever. No, and the lady, she's really she's on Instagram. Liz, her name's Liz. I forget her last name, but she's a stunt woman. She does a lot of like the Shark Week videos.
Wow,
she's
That's
a
awesome.
conservationist, and
cool.
but she was a little bit like. That was a little intense. Like, Stuart's just chucking stuff in the water,
Easy,
and we're about
Stuart.
to get eaten. So, yeah, Stuart almost killed us.
Slow down, Stu.
Hold
up.
up.
There were sharks. And
that's cool.
Hillary was like, yeah, that was terrifying. And especially, like...
Did she go in the water, too?
Heck no. No, she was just watching.
From the boat?
From the top, but she said it was probably even worse, because you just...
Yeah,
I mean,
my husband's not coming back.
You watch the
it's probably
videos,
way
and there's
worth
just
watching.
sharks everywhere, and they move so fast. Like,
there's nothing you can do.
Nothing you can
They're
do.
going to get you. They're going to get you.
If they want you, they're yours. Or you're theirs.
Oh, my gosh. So,
it's great stuff.
Yeah, for sure. So it's January now. What
was your New Year's resolution?
I didn't make a resolution, but I'm working on my execution. My
your 3-day rule?
My 3-day rule.
What's your 3-day rule?
My dad says I'm queen of intentions and ideas.
Oh, wow.
But that I'm not.
That's
he
really
called
good.
me out at home and he goes, you know what one of the most important things as like a business person and in life is in relationships with others? And he goes, follow up and execution. And I'm like, why don't you just punch me in the face, Dad? Like the thing that I struggle with the most, like I have ideas and intentions, all this stuff, and a lot of time they fall by the wayside or it's like 3 months later. So I decided I have a 3-day rule on anything. Like anything I say I'm going to do, any task that you present me with, anything that I have going on, like has to be completed within 3 days.
What did you do today?
Oh.
Made succotash.
What?
Succotash.
Do you know what succotash
Isn't that what like
Suffer and succotash?
I was getting ready to say. Isn't that what a cartoon character says?
Yeah, so it was like
Succotash.
2 months ago.
You're discrediting
the
the
initial bring up was what was succotash. Well, so we looked it up, and
Do you
it's
remember?
lima beans, corn.
Oh, it's a thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Lima beans, corns, other shelled beans, and then there's supposed to be like tomatoes, onions, and some peppers in it.
Okay.
Have you had it before?
No. And
We
I'm
ate
not.
it at training
And
table.
Okay.
So she's like, I'll make succotash, and we're like, sure you will.
Right.
That was 2 months ago. Well, yes, the other day.
It was
the other
not.
day.
It was like a
This was
week.
before your 3-day rule, I think. And so the other day we mentioned succotash. We're like, oh, we thought we were gonna have succotash. So today she said she brought succotash. However, she's like,
haven't seen it yet.
she's like,
Stop.
we're like, so what's all in it? She's like, lima beans and corn, and we're like, none of the other stuff. So she literally just got Green Giant lima beans and Green Giant corn and just poured them into a dish.
So it's not succotash, it's just suck.
I can't. You know, you also in the new year you just can't be a liar.
So
No, hey,
what did you do? Tell the story. Tell the story.
I'm working on being intentional, so it's like a baby.
Working on being intentional. I got some paperwork I need to remind you
okay,
about.
it's a 3-day rule. Give it to me and you'll have it in 3 days. Truly. Anyway.
It's already been given to you.
No, but you got to it started a couple days ago, so it's got to
okay.
be like re-entered. So I
Re-entered.
went to the store knowing myself
Jeez.
and that I had 3 days to accomplish this.
Like trying to run a marathon on a broken leg.
I know. So I looked up the Martha Stewart recipe for succotash. So I go through the aisles and I get the cans, I get the peppers, I get the tomatoes. I can't even believe I'm telling you this. So it's all nicely stacked up my house. And then as I went down the aisle to get the lima beans, there was a can of it just made, and it looked
can of succotash.
Oh, wow.
It looks so bad. It's so bad. So in my car is a can with a can opener and a bowl.
That's funny.
I don't want
can of
this
succotash.
No,
I didn't even know
they're
that was a
making
real
good
thing.
Stuff now. Anyway, this was my whole point. You missed the whole point of this actually good question.
We did have like that pork you made the other night, and the mac and cheese was delicious, by the way.
This is a real question.
Ellie's
Do we have
a really
real
good
question?
cook.
She's a really good
She's
cook.
a good cook.
Yeah, I
You
would
guys are-
think that you could cook succotash.
I'm gonna get.
Have a
I
little
have the
integrity. Watch
Watch your
ingredients.
mouth.
Yeah.
Succotash. This is a real question. Can you answer a real question now?
Sure.
Okay, so it's January now. Picture yourself in December. What 3 things do you hope that you would have created, done, accomplished, fulfilled, whatever? Like it's January 31st, it's about to strike midnight. What are you hoping that, I don't know, you are an experience? It could be something you want to create. It could be a goal. Like it's December. What's going to make you feel good on New Year's Eve when you're looking back on the year? Giving you a little forward thinking so you can start applying your
Wow.
own 3-day rule.
Got to get your stuff up and running.
Yep. We gotta.
Got to win the CrossFit Games.
Yep.
That's 2 really good ones. That was solid. That's pretty clutch.
You know what's really interesting, because I've heard this question asked a bunch of times, and I don't even know how to say this the right way. So if I screw this up, let's fix it and make it sound right. But like, it's not really about what the do is.
It's do. Those are all do things.
No, but this is create experience. Like in my mind, like.
No, but I think what you're saying
Yeah,
is
no,
What
I
if
get what
I
you're
was
saying.
like completion of his program and
Right.
better assessment of my own core values to apply?
Right.
Like that's I guess
How
that
do
isn't
you
do, but
quantify that though?
I don't know. It's an awareness thing. I don't know. How do you quantify clarity and awareness? That's
Yeah,
a
I
good
mean, these are
question,
really
too.
good questions. I think there are, like I'm excited about what we're doing business-wise for the next year, which is cool. I certainly have like fitness goals
Yeah, you want to
that are important.
completely heal and get
Yeah.
on board for your.
Yeah, I
Training.
want to be competitive with that. I'm like when the new year rolls around for me, what I do is I go back to my code and I reevaluate it. That's what I do at the beginning of every year.
Yeah.
Go back to all that, make sure it's where it
Yeah.
is, maybe add some things to it, take some things away.
I have a note on one of those.
So that I kind of, okay, this is who I be and this is the direction that I'm going. But yeah, I think business stuff I'm excited about. It's cool to live in purpose. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's cool to do that and to be super content and pleased with where you're at in life. And
You ready for some wisdom then, or do you have questions?
I have a question. I have
Okay.
a couple. This one though, what would you change in the past? It says when you have the chance. I don't know if that's when we
geez.
create a time machine or
Yeah.
I'm not really gonna have the chance to change it. But I've had this question a couple of times, and I wouldn't change anything. I mean, I don't think you can really go back and
Right.
change
then it changes
because then
everything,
yeah,
right?
because then you're not who you are, and there's
Yeah.
things that I wish would have went differently, but they didn't, and that's why I am who I am today. So I don't think
Right.
I'd go back and change anything. I don't think you can live with that. I don't know.
Right.
What do you think on that?
I think like everything that I am today is based on, who I was and all those learning curves. I think that the first 20 years of my life, before the transformation of my life,
Read
I
this
certainly
one. That's parallel to what you just said.
I'm not the man I was now. And
Mhm.
what if I could go back and do something different, it would be how I treated people in relationships. I don't know that I was pretty selfish and didn't care about people
Same,
and ran people over and worked hard to try to mend those fences and repair and
That's
seek
part of
forgiveness
maturity and stuff too. You know,
it
like,
was
it's hard.
some of those things I didn't do intentionally. I like this idea. I don't like people who don't have regret. I don't know how to relate to them. I guess I shouldn't say I don't like them, but I don't necessarily know how to relate to that. I like people with bumps and bruises and scars and who are marred, from...
Not necessarily regret, but like trials?
No,
or you mean regret?
I do like... I can't say that I don't have regrets because I know I do, but I don't let those regrets define me, and I don't live my life based on those. I look back to measure how far I've come.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I think it's valuable to look back and say, hey, this is what this was.
Right.
And this is why I'm different, and this is why I'm doing things different, and this is the transformation in my life. I understand when people say don't look back and those kinds of things. I get that, but
that's regret's a powerful word, and I think you're right though, because if you regret something, it makes you human, and you've probably more than likely learned something from it, and it probably makes you more relatable to other people as well.
For me, not to say that I don't have regrets would be really disingenuous.
Yeah.
Because there are things that I've done
for sure.
in my life.
But I don't think I would change those things.
No. And I don't know. I think that's a crazy thing to say because you can't. Why are we even having that discussion?
Yeah.
You can't go back and you can't make changes, but you can learn from them.
Yeah.
So what do you suggest for college athletes, for me football, who want to get into CrossFit big time but clash with off-season workouts and such? Keep playing football, especially if it's paying your tuition.
For sure.
There's just a huge value also in collegiate sports. I mean, it's to your point you always say about friendships and learning and discovering yourself and things like that, but also the networking that occurs when you attend college and you meet these, think of all these like-minded athletes that are playing all different sports. And I can say this in my own life. So many of my friends went on to do just crazy things, but awesome. And these were people that I met on this journey, and you have a bond with them that you can reach out and say, hey, which is a really cool thing to have in your life, is to be able to network. When in life do you get put in a situation with so many people going through something similar in that setting, and then you have those friends for life? And to me, that in itself is an invaluable resource that I wouldn't have had if I chose, something else.
I think college is super valuable for you're working towards an educational goal, which I think is huge. I think there's value in that, but that idea of those 4 years being the time where you really can learn about yourself, and you've got a plan.
Yep.
You got to show up at a certain place, a certain time. It's a bonus if you're getting your school paid for sure, if you're working at scholarships and some of that kind of stuff. But that, for me, and with my kids, it was like looking at it, I was thinking, man, the most important thing is those are 4 years they're really going to learn about themselves and develop and face adversity, and then they have a plan. There's some structure around them.
So let me pick your brains for a second, honestly, because this is a question that I've been curious about also in the world of CrossFit. So you see where the sport's going. Obviously, you were the pioneer beginning of it. You see how much it's taking on people physically. You see the time demand. You see kids giving up everything to pursue this sport. What do you think is actually going to have to occur for athletes to make it to the CrossFit Games 5 to 10 years from now? Is it going to be, can you do it? Can you go to college, do it at a later age, and be successful? Or is it only going to be something for young people? Will there be any longevity? There are just so many questions, because this is the first, decade of it. So now you guys are the case study, and now there's a whole group coming in. So what's going to happen?
We're old and decrepit? Is that what you're saying?
I think that you're still the fittest.
But I mean, I think what you see is, as the older you get, the less, the harder it is on your body to recover. I think that's the biggest thing that I've learned over the past. So I'll be going on my 9th year of doing CrossFit, starting my 10th. So I've been doing it a long time. I think that's the one thing you'll see. It might be, I don't know, it's just kind of, man.
But what if, for instance, hypothetical here, say, so you, Lakeland one day goes, Dad, I really want to go to the CrossFit Games. And you're like, Lakeland, you are crushing it in soccer. I really think that you should pursue this goal and go to college and play soccer. And you say, well, honey, how about this? I want you to do some weightlifting on the side, and I want you to work on gymnastics, so you have this foundation that when you're done with the sport, you can do this, but you still get the experience of the sport. Is that something that's going to happen, or is it going to be sorry, honey, you're going to have to go CrossFit? And you would never say that because you believe in sports.
No, I mean, I think definitely the foundation, having laid the foundation without the volume would be a huge benefit. I mean, I think that's what you're just going to see is that the continued volume and everybody cranking up the volume is what's going to wear people down.
Yeah.
I'll be interested to see what Angelo and Nick and those guys, I mean, they've been doing it since they were 16 or 15.
Yep.
And where they'll be at in 5-6 years.
That's what I mean. Is that even healthy for a 16-year-old to do 5 hours of volume?
Well, here's the thing, too, is you got to look at CrossFit as CrossFit for fitness and CrossFit for playing a sport. That's your job. So, like, it's dangerous to play any sport. I mean, training in any sport. I mean, you look at these NFL guys, the guys with CTE. You look at the knee stuff, the back stuff.
Right.
I mean, those guys are messed up. Any sport, really.
Yeah,
Any contact or
endurance
that's a
sports,
collision. Yeah.
You don't have knees. You don't have.
So I mean, you got to start. You got to
gymnastics.
look at when you're talking longevity. We have to separate it into CrossFit for life and CrossFit for
That's good.
A sport. I think CrossFit for life, as long as it's programmed correctly and you have good coaches. I mean, you're going to see some injuries every once in a while. That's what we do. You're going to have less injuries than sitting on the couch all the time, really in the long road. But when you start looking at, what we do and for a sport or for life, I mean, for competition, you're definitely going to see a lot more injuries. It's just the way it is. That's a risk we accept, and I wouldn't change it. It's just what it is.
Yeah.
So
those are great points, though. I meant to say,
I
athletes.
get you. No, I get where you're going. But you start looking at elite athletes, and you're talking about the half of the top 1%. Really,
right.
I mean, less than that now. I mean, it's insane where we're at these days. So,
and that's a great point about football and all the other sports, because if you think about it, most elite athletes are pretty injured.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and you look at just recreational runners as well. They're injured all the time too. So I mean, it's just
it's a challenging. Like I like your philosophy when I've heard you talk to the young people that go play sports.
Yeah, I mean, I learned so many things, like you were saying, just like just teamwork, obviously, but just some responsibility and just having just understanding what pressure is. You know, you can't recreate that. It's hard to recreate that.
We've had discussions about athletes that are at the games or games level athletes that when they get in that environment,
crush.
The fact that they didn't have a sports background actually hurts them. Yeah, it hurts them when it comes to some of that athletic stuff. In the football world and having been in, like, you get all the guys that say they're going to go pro, and you can spend. In general terms, you're not on the field very long, and you go, no, you're not.
Not happening.
That's not happening. I already know you're not.
Not in the cards for
just
you, bro.
Because that's just not the level of talent that you have as an athlete, and that percentage of people, it's so small. And those people are freaks. Yeah. And so I even think maybe some of that logic applies to CrossFit too, because you can. So. I've heard you say that actually. Yeah. I've heard you in big environments with people. Yeah, that one's got it. Yeah, like that's a possibility right there. And that's really kind of about at that level, that elite level. We're really talking about.
You can look at minute little things.
Right.
For sure. I mean, but I think that's like with any sport, of course. You know, it's like the argument too. And I was having this conversation with somebody the other day. Is do you think it will get to a point where it's a certain level of genetics associated with like making it to the CrossFit Games? Like, and I don't ever want to say that hard work isn't going to get you wherever you want. Like, I'm a firm believer in you put your sweat equity in. I believe in that. But to what degree?
I mean, I think genetics play a huge role in it. I mean, there's some things that you can't replace, and then now, especially like we were saying, it's now if you have holes in certain areas, like everybody is so good at everything. If you have one minor deficiency, you're out, basically. That's what we've come to. So you have to be good at everything, but you can't be great. And we were out here, we were discussing, you were trying to talk about these challenges that everybody's wanting to do every week or whatever. And Angelo was just like, well, there's nothing I'm really good at. And you're kind of like, but you look at him as a whole, and he's super fit, great athlete. Right. But you kind of want that. You don't want to be great at any one thing, but it's getting
Did it ever come into your thinking when you were competing as an individual, like, I don't need to win every event?
I mean, I'd look at events and be like, okay, I never looked at an event and was like, all right, this is my event to win. Right. Never once did that cross my mind. Because there's always somebody that you feel like, whether you've seen videos or competed with them, you're like, all right, they're going to do really good on this workout. So, so there's never any point where I was like, it's my workout. I'm going to smash this.
Right. Because it's, the score's over several days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was telling him the other day, so after we talked about the rope climb video, and like I've known you this long and I hadn't seen it other than like the
Did you watch
2
it yet?
second. So I watched the whole event, and I told Jim, like, I came in like fired up the next day, and I don't know where you were out of town.
Because I almost died.
Well, here's the amazing thing about watching that event to me, which is so telling about you as an athlete. And like, obviously, like I see that you will like walk faster than the dude next to you down the street. Like you are that competitive. I knew that about you. But when you watch CrossFit nowadays and on TV, everyone, like you said, is so good at everything. And like people who are more efficient are going to be better at this. It's so hard to see raw grit and like just that like raw determination and like competitiveness, you know? But in that arena, watching you the very first time, it was so inspiring because it wasn't about who moved efficient. Like you guys were doing singles on
We were all
toe to bar.
terrible.
Like, but you had the look on your face that first workout in the stadium when he said 3, 2, 1, go. You went so hard and it was so raw. I was like,
Crushed me.
But that was the risk you were willing to take. And like that from an athlete, even if you had died every other workout, was so inspiring. I didn't even need to see the rest.
I did die every other workout.
But it was that to me. Now I understand.
Yeah.
Like I understand you sort of,
Right.
but seeing that and seeing like now everyone moves the same. Go back and watch that video and you understand why you beat everybody for the next. You're gonna beat everybody for the next 20 years. Like you can't put that in somebody. That was incredible. It was
You've
really
called
cool.
that the perfect storm. You know, where who you be, you're designed to move and to compete, and then learning, you know, developing skills in the sport, and then that adversity, doing something difficult, all that crosses
Perfect.
at the right time.
Yep.
And you were talking to some athletes the other day about diving into the pool, teaching them how to, you know, and then you were using him as an example of, well, that's not something he's ever thought about one day in his life. He just
you're
does
naturally
it.
athletic. I said you
How
need
to-
to learn how to dive into the pool.
How to get in the water, right? In speed.
Yeah.
You know, keep your goggles on and do all that without,
Right.
and some people have to learn that, and that's okay. And then some people just do that,
Yeah.
and that's the way it works.
Like,
you
how
know?
old were you when you probably dove into the pond head first and you never even thought about it? You naturally tuck your chin and know how to keep your goggles on,
Yeah.
whereas most people go in and they're gone, you know? So it's just
Where you
like
just
stuff
strap
like
them on tight. Just go for
Yeah.
it.
Your eyes
Here's
are
what I
like,
do.
Yeah.
Just crank them on.
But that's kind of a small example of what we're
Right.
talking about. You know.
Where were you guys diving into a pool?
No, we were sitting drinking coffee and we were talking about swimming and the progression. And I said, hey, one time I'd like us to work on diving in the water because I said, think of it this way. I wasn't going to say that you ever finish a body length ahead of me because I'm just not going to go there. But it's like 2 seconds and yet you're still ahead of me by 2 body lengths. And that's infuriating. But that's the difference between winning and losing. If someone jumps in the pool and they bob up and down for 5 seconds, that's so long in the
So
swimming
long.
world. And I said, if you guys can't run into the pool or a pond and jump headfirst in, that's 5 seconds, which is the difference between winning and losing in 10 places.
It's funny,
So can we practice that is what I said
When
to
we were
them.
in the Bahamas, we did 10 100s where you dove into the pond or dove into the pool. So
Right.
it's funny that you were saying that.
So I was just saying, hey, we should work on this.
Because
at
I
some
turned
point.
around when we were doing this workout and Maliolo's feet on the edge of the water and like dives in like this. And I was actually on the skier because we were doing this little rotation and you would just hear smack in the water.
Ooh.
And I was just like, what the hell is he doing? Well, then I was finished and he still had to finish his last round. And I look and he's like, and just dives in.
Put his hands like
Yeah,
a pencil.
he really did. So even when Hillary's kind of like, what was he doing? That's when you know.
Shout out to Austin.
Austin,
Work on
yeah,
his
Austin, work
diving.
on those dives, bro.
That's awesome. Well, I feel like that was a pretty productive podcast.
I think so.
Are we there?
I don't know.
I don't know, but I feel
I'd
like
say
we've
we're
been going
close.
for a while.
I think we're good.
Outstanding.
Episode
15.
15, CrossFitMayhem.com. We didn't get to many questions. I will compile those off of this post and we'll get to some of them because that gives us a
Do a question
that.
head
podcast.
start off them.
Yeah.
Cool.
Peace.
Awesome. Peace.